Welcome back to algebra class. Today is lesson 6, elimination with multiplication. Our objective is to be able to solve systems of equations using elimination with multiplication. In order to use elimination with multiplication, you need terms that will cancel when added together. If you do not have opposite terms, then you need to multiply one or both of the equations by a number to get opposite terms. We want to add equations together in our second box, and we want to solve for the variable that remains. In box number 3, we want to plug it back in for the other variable, just like we did on our last unit. Box 4 is our solution box. Let's go ahead and start with our first example. So if we added these two equations together, you'll notice 3 and 5 do not cancel each other out, and 4 and 2 do not cancel each other out. However, 2 can multiply to be 4 fairly easily. So the number I'm going to try and get my variables to, I want to get both the y's to have 4's with them. You could eliminate the x's if you wanted to, but in this case I think it's easier to just get both of them equal to 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my second equation. 2 times negative 2 is going to give me that negative 4. So when I do that, I have to rewrite this as negative 10x minus 4y equals positive 8. I no longer need that middle equation, so I cross it off. Now, if you will notice, if I added these two equations together, just like I did on my last assignment, my y's would cancel out. So I would have negative 7x, 4y plus negative 4y cancels out, and then 6 plus 8 is 14. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 7. And when I do that, I get x equals negative 2. Does not matter which equation I choose. I'm going to use the top one just because. So I say 3. Instead of an x, I can actually plug in negative 2 because I know that's my x value, plus 4y equals 6. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, plus 4y equals 6. I am going to add 6 on both sides. So I get 4y equals 12. Divide by 4, divide by 4. I get y equals 3. So my solution is negative 2, comma 3. This problem, once again, no variables are going to cancel out if I added them together. So what I'm going to do is I want to get one of the variables to cancel out. I notice that I can multiply the second equation by a number to get that to be the opposite of 6. So in this case, I'm going to multiply the second equation. This variable is going to be easy to make the opposite of 6. I want it to be a negative 6. So negative 2 is what I would multiply that equation by. So I get negative 6x plus 14y equals 38. And I no longer need my middle equation, so I cross it off. From here, I add the 2 up, and I'm good to go. So 6x plus negative 6x cancels out. Negative 2y plus 14 is going to be 12y. 10 plus 38 is 48. I'm going to divide both sides by 12. And I get y equals 4. I'm going to use my equation here. So I get 6x, minus 2. Instead of a y, I can plug in something different. I can actually plug in 4 there, because I know my y value is 4. So I get 6x minus 8 equals 10. I'm going to add 8 on both sides. So I get 6x equals 18. Divide both sides by 6. I get x equals 3. So my answer here is 3, 4. Our next example, 2 does not multiply to 5 very easily. 3 does not multiply to 5 very easily either. So what I'm actually going to have to do is multiply both equations. I want to cancel out the x's. You could cancel out the y's if you want. So I want both of these equations to have the x values be 10 and negative 10. So for my first equation, I'm thinking 5 times what is going to give me a 10. So I know 2 would do that. So I have 10x minus 6y equals 12. I no longer need my top equation. This second equation, I need it to be a negative 10. So 2 times what would give me a negative 10? That's going to be negative 5. So I get negative 10x plus 25y equals negative 50. Okay. I can now add those two up, and I have eliminated the x value. So I would get 19y equals negative 38. Divide both sides by 19. I get y equals negative 2. Keep going. I can now use any equation I want. I'm going to use my red equation just because. So I say 10x minus 6 instead of a y. I know I can put negative 2 there. Equals 12. So I get 10x plus 12 equals 12. Subtract 12 on both sides. I get 10x equals 0. Divide by 10 on both sides. I get x equals 0. So 0, negative 2 is my answer. Once again, on this problem, I have 4 does not multiply to 6 very easily, and 2 does not multiply to 3 very easily, so I need to eliminate a variable. This time I'm going to eliminate my y value. So a number that both 2 and 3 can multiply to pretty easily is 6, so my key number here is going to be 6. So my top equation, if I want the y to be a 6, I need to multiply this thing by a 3, because 3 times 2 is going to give me that 6. So I get 18x plus 6y equals 6. Cross that off. Next equation, I need it to be a negative 6, so 3 times negative 2 is going to give me that negative 6. So I get negative 8x minus 6y equals negative 16. I can add those two things together. So I get 10x equals negative 10. Divide both sides by 10. I get x equals negative 1. I'm going to use my red equation just because it doesn't really matter which one you choose. So I get 18 times negative 1 plus 6y equals 6. So I get negative 18 plus 6y equals 6. I'm going to add 18 on both sides. So I get 6y equals 24. Divide by 6. Divide by 6. I get y equals 4. So negative 1 comma 4 is my solution. Our final problem is a story problem. It says the cost of 4 notebooks and 5 pens is $20. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. So I have 4 notebooks plus 5 pens is $20. The cost of 6 notebooks and 2 pens is $19. So 6 notebooks plus 2 pens is $19. Write and solve a system of equations to find the cost of the notebook N and a pen P. So I need to use elimination to help me out here. So my first step is going to be to get one of these equal to each other. So I'm going to get my N's equal to each other just because. A number that both 4 and 6 can multiply to is 12. So my key number here is going to be 12. So the top equation, I'm going to multiply that by 3 to get the N to be 12. So I get 12N plus 15P equals 60. No longer need that top equation. My second equation, I need to multiply by negative 2 because I need it to be a negative 12. So it's going to be negative 12N minus 4P equals negative 38. Oops. Negative 38. Now I can add these up. So I'm left with 11P equals 22. Divide both sides by 11. And I get P equals 2. Now I can use that, and I'm going to go ahead and use my red equation just because. So I'm going to say 12N plus 15. Instead of a P, I can plug in a 2 there, equals 60. So I get 12N plus 30 equals 60. Subtract 30 on both sides. So I get 12N equals 30. Divide both sides by 12. And I get N equals, if you use your calculator, do 30 divided by 12, it winds up being 2.5. So, in this case, a pen is $2. A notebook is $2.50. That is it for today's lesson. Hope you have a great rest of your day.